What's going on, gamers? Tallen back here again with another episode of the Waypoint podcast here on 5-9 Direct. And of course, I am joined by most of the usual group. Actually, we got a new guy in here today, guys. We got Lethal, as you already know. We got Bobby, and say hello to the newest member, Ironcane. Iron, go and say hello, man.
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
All right, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about because the last couple weeks have been absolutely crazy for a lot of us, and we haven't been able to do the podcast in a while. So this is kind of playing catch up with some stuff and also talking about some most recent stuff as well. But first off, a couple of our guys here actually got to go to PAX EAST, which is really cool. So if you haven't seen any of that content, make sure to go down in the description or up in the top right corner that way and check out all the content. We had some awesome interviews and everything, some first looks at some games, really cool stuff. So if you want to see all that stuff, make sure you go check it out. And of course, sub to the channel as always. But first, Lethal and Iron here both got to go to PAX EAST, and just give us a quick explanation, guys. How was your experience? What was it like? Was it really fun seeing some of the other 5-9 team members and everything like that? Let us know.
It was magical. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was great.
Dude, it was.
No, it was a great time. Here, I'll go first, Iron. Definitely meeting the rest of the team, right? Meeting Iron here, for example. Super cool. It was great to meet them in person. I think we had a great time. And then even that went ahead and just transferred over into actual PAX for me personally. Dude, so freaking cool. This was my first PAX, and it was just cool because I've gone to other conventions, right? I've gone to like Comic-Cons before, but I've never gone to just a convention that is just centered and themed on video games. So for me, this was like Disney, you know, this just felt like a mini Disney World to me. So as soon as we got in there, right, just seeing all the different games that we're able to play. There's so many different indie games, and just one thing I told myself, like I had made this promise. I was like, man, I gotta play more indie games. So of course, when you go to PAX, like just the show floor is just filled with different indie games, and some from big publishers like Devolver Digital, you know, and then just some literally like independent teams that are just like two people or just one person, and they're just telling you how they put their work into this game for like a couple years. I'm just sitting here like, man, you did this all by yourself. Like, it's incredible. So just to play out so many different games, and I didn't get to play as many as I wanted to, but I got to play a good chunk of them. And I know I'll say one that I was excited for, which was Trek to Yomi at the Devolver Digital booth. And man, I've told you guys like before, like how much I really want to play this game. It's one indie that stuck out to me where I was like, man, I want to try that game out, and I got to try it out. So freaking fun. I wish I got to play more with it, but the little bit of time that I did have with it, I enjoyed the crap out of it. It was so much fun. Just definitely a game to look out for. You know, just look out for it when it comes out, because it should be coming out, I think, sometime soon. So definitely just be on the lookout for that. But I got to try a bunch of other games, right? Some smaller games. We did some panels. Probably one of my favorite panels. There were so many. If I had to pick one standout that I just think I had a good time, there was a Wii U panel that we went to, and it had a bunch of, you know, different some creators in there, people who worked in the business, and in that panel, you know, it was just so much fun talking about the history of Wii U. But it was just great to just see like content creators come together, right, to just do a panel. Some of them like don't really do stuff like that, so when they go to a physical convention to kind of meet up, either whether if it's for the first time or just coming together to present and talk about a topic, like it was just an overall fun panel talking about the history of a little bit of Nintendo, and again with the Wii and the Wii U. But I enjoyed it. We got to meet Ash. He's really cool. He's a big content creator for Good Vibes Gaming. Iron knew him a little bit more than I did, so I know Iron was really excited. And he was also with don't correct me Iron, it's Megaran.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay, yeah. Because these are new content creators to me, right? So it was cool to go in with fresh eyes, because these were new people that I didn't know too much before of, and just to learn more about them and just more about their like what they do, and again just to see them come together and present something, and it was one of the fun panels that I went to. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to take the whole time here, but it just overall was a great trip, and I had so much fun. You can take it, Iron.
Yeah, no, well, for me, like that panel was also really cool just because we got to speak to Ash after the panel. I feel like that's a lot of things that are slept on as well. Just that, yeah, you get to go to these panels, you get to hear these people speak their piece, but you actually get to talk to them afterwards if you want to. Like, not a lot of people, I feel like they do. They go to the panel, they kind of just peace out. But yeah, no, if you wait by the end of the panel, you can talk to the people, you can take a picture, you can have a couple words. And we had a couple words with Ash, and of course, you know, here at Direct, try to cover everything gaming. And Ash has, he's doing a channel as well called Good Vibes Gaming, and it was cool just to hear some advice from the, you know, the success they had with that channel, and just like talk about like how things work on YouTube and stuff like that, and just like the grind and all that. So it was very, very cool, and it was surreal just because this is somebody who I've heard on Game Explain. Ash used to work at Game Explain, but he's since left to form Good Vibes Gaming with some of the former members there. And then Mega Ran was somebody that was so dope to me, just because if you don't know Mega Ran, he basically I think the genre is called nerdcore, but basically he raps over classic like video game beats like Mega Man and stuff like that. Mega Man is like his thing. He loves Mega Man. And he actually like really, you know, I'm a white dude, so I didn't really listen to much hip hop growing up, but I was listening to a lot of video game music when I like was getting really into music, and he introduced me to like the genre hip hop because it was like a fusion. So I was really, really grateful to him, and I took a picture with him, and he actually retweeted it, and that made my trip. That made my trip. But yeah, like Lethal was touching on, it was really, really dope to meet him, the other guys as well. Geekin is, of course, I've known a little bit prior, but it was really cool to meet Nolar and Hydros. And Nolar is definitely lying. He is not 5'6", he's 5'8" or something. They do measurements differently in California. He's 100% lying. I'm going to get measured, and I will take a picture, and I'm going to send it to Nolar. That is totally cap. But yeah, no, if you're at all interested in the games industry, whether it is development, whether it's publishing, whether it's charities, whether it's journalism like me, or video journalism like Lethal, there's definitely so many resources there, just people to network with, games to play. If you're just there to play games, there's so many games to play. And I think what's really dope about PAX is that this one in particular, the indies got like the main floor basically. Like there wasn't like huge names. Like when I went in 2019, there was like a Midgar behind me, ironically. The Final Fantasy VII Remake was actually available to play. Square Enix was there. You could like take a picture on like Cloud's bike that he rides, which was really dope. And then there's a huge booth for Animal Crossing as well, which was cool. Unfortunately, Nintendo with Square Enix didn't make big showings or showings at all at this year's PAX. But it was cool that, you know, Devolver Digital, Gearbox, obviously Gearbox is not like indie, but it was really cool that indies got like the main show. And it was just a really cool overall experience. Got to see a lot of cosplayers. Like some cosplayers, they get really into it, man. Like you gotta admire like the fact that they really go into these cosplays. It's not
Genshin. Just put it out there. Genshin was a hot topic at PAX, this PAX at least.
Oh, now we know why Iron enjoyed it so much.
Oh man, no, but PAX was a blast. It was a blast. Yeah. It was a blast meeting the guys. It was a blast, the convention in general. I highly recommend if you're like thinking about it. It's basically like Comic-Con but for video games, so I highly recommend it.
Very cool. Very nice, guys. Well, again, guys, if you haven't seen it already, go check out some of the content that we have over on the channel. And we actually have a couple more coming up that we're just, you know, video files. And as you guys probably know, when it comes to like sending files over Wi-Fi from the hotels and everything like that, not exactly the fastest. So we have even a few more things coming out in the pipeline. And we got some reviews coming up as well. So make sure you guys, again, sub to the channel if you want to see that particular stuff. So let's get into some topics though that, again, they might be a little old, you know, in terms of like news, because it's like, oh my gosh, it's a week over. But regardless, we got to catch up on a couple things, and then we'll talk about some more recent stuff as well. But first, one of the big announcements that we had, what was it, almost 2 weeks ago at this point now, I think, was Kingdom Hearts 4. We don't care about that mobile crap over there, okay? Those games are whatever, right? But Kingdom Hearts 4 was announced, and as someone who has played both Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, and then obviously played Birth by Sleep, played 358 over 2. Actually bought it in Japan. I bought it in Japan when I was in high school, so you know I played the original, okay? So, and then whatever other 50
Chain of Memories.
Chain of Memories, played that back on the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, it was Game Boy Advance game.
And then there was Recoded. There was Recoded, the mobile one.
Recoded, and then Dream Drop Distance.
We're gonna go back there.
Yep. So anyway, we played all of them. 3, in my personal opinion, it was okay. I mean, it was probably never going to live up to the hype that 3 was supposed to be, but I don't know. I personally just found it okay before it was announced, and I'm not going to lie. I like the more realistic direction that they're taking with it, and if they can cut back on the Disney worlds and everything like that, that's definitely something for me. But let me get your guys' opinions. What are your thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 4? Because again, it's nowhere near a release. I mean, we got until like what, 2099 probably. That's a joke if you can't tell, by the way.
Pretty much.
But I mean, that's probably when we're gonna see it released. But what are your guys' thoughts on it? Bobby, you haven't been able to talk, man. What are your personal thoughts on it?
I'm always down for more Kingdom Hearts. Like Kingdom Hearts 3, it was okay. Like it wasn't the worst game I've ever played. It was not the best Kingdom Hearts game.
2 is still the best.
But I am super excited for more. Like I do love Kingdom Hearts. I think there's something really charming about like the whole universe, and I enjoy every Kingdom Hearts game I play, at least to some extent. You know, I've never been like at the end of a Kingdom Hearts game been like, well, that was an absolute waste of my time, except for maybe the original, was it Chain of Memories, the Game Boy Advance one?
Hey, give respect to the card system, all right?
Don't
do that. Don't do that. Give respect, buddy. I'm just kidding.
Not a card system guy. But yeah, otherwise, like, I'm cool. I thought it looked fantastic. I know they said the footage was in UE4 and they're moving over to UE5, which from people I know who make games and work with UE4, they say that moving to UE5 is like seamless. So that's exciting. That's if really they started work, they can just kind of go like port over and it'll just move right over for them. And they can make it look prettier than it already does. That's one of the cool things. And yeah, like Tallen, don't be hating on Disney Worlds, man. That's like Kingdom Hearts.
Dude, that's the beauty of it,
no,
man.
Okay,
the
okay.
blend of Square with Disney. Come on, bro.
No, okay. Let me reiterate a few things then. Okay, first off, I like the Disney Worlds. I actually do. You know, not every single one hits. I mean, like, what is it? Everyone hates
Atlantica. We can agree.
Yep.
We can agree.
Yeah, like right. Like
That's
you know,
fine.
like past games, there have been 1 or 2 Disney games that you don't know, right? But my problem, I think, with the Disney Worlds this time around was not so much that there were Disney Worlds, but it felt like we weren't actually fighting any of the Disney like bosses or bad guys or anything like that, right? Like, I mean, there's like
true.
some rumors, I don't know if it's a rumor or an interview or something like that, but like in Frozen, like Disney stepped in and would like not allow you to like actually fight anything. It's like, it felt like our characters were they're super strict on it, right?
Very strict for 3 for whatever reason.
Right, for some reason, and like, okay, fine. If you want to say Frozen, I guess I get it. But like, that's one world out of all the other Disney worlds, and yet it was more like I mean, Toy Story. I mean, I felt like they butchered the Toy Story possibilities there, in my personal opinion, right? Like, you finally get to play in that world, and we're stuck in a toy store for the entire time. Right? I'm like, come on, like it would have been cool to have some kind of like, I don't know. I mean, they love doing like the Baymax chase, you know, scene or whatever. It's like, why can't we have had that in the Toy Story, but from like Toy Story 2 at the airport or something like that, right? Or
like, you know, why not
just
in Al's Toy Barn?
Yeah, Al's Toy Barn. Like, why not that?
I put that similarity though with the toy mall that they did. That's just my take on it. But like, I kind of got that Al's Toy Barn kind of vibe from it a little bit.
Kind of, yeah. But it was also kind of a big advertisement for the the DLC boss that we eventually fight if you bought it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that world was the most important with the big tie-in into 4. So in a weird way, that was the most important world. Yeah.
Right, but I don't know. It's just, I felt like there was not like, it's like, where was the Disney bosses that, you know, that we've gotten from 1 and 2? And yes, I know, like, especially from like 1, you know, like, oh, Jafar got defeated and this and this. It's like come on, it's Kingdom Hearts. If they can find a way to bring back X members because of reasons, I'm pretty sure you can do that for the Disney and everything like that, right? So I mean, it's not that hard. So that was my, I guess, main complaint when it came to the Disney World. It just felt like, okay, I'm in the Disney worlds, and then I just fight some random big Heartless, and I'm like, it's like Sora and friends were not part of the story like they were in 1 and 2, right? Like they're just off to the side, right? I mean, literally, especially in the Frozen world,
it was just the song.
Yeah, it was just a song, and then you randomly saw them appear behind her for like a couple seconds. It's like, okay, thanks, guys. That's exactly what I wanted. So.
Yeah, it was weird, and I remember watching a video. It might have been Game Theory or something, but I think it was, and they talked about how like in the first like little section of the Frozen world of Kingdom Hearts 3, it's very clear that like you're gonna see it's Elsa, right? The blonde one, the main character, right? It's like, it's very clear that using the Kingdom Hearts format, they're setting up Elsa to be the one who like falls to the darkness or whatever, right? And turned into a Heartless, and like you have to fight her. And then all of a sudden, like that just stops. Like basically after the first act of that little world, And then all of a sudden you're just progressing through this big like empty void of nothing until you reach the random boss that they came up with to substitute for that. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And I understand why Disney would be protective, because that's like their biggest moneymaker in 30 years, right? But at the same time, it's like, man, we're just telling a different take on the story. That's all. We're not trying to ruin it.
What was the boss again?
It was like a wolf.
It was Hans, like Hans' darkness came out of him, and it was like some wolf, heartless or something like that. It was like, and it wasn't like even in the world anymore. Like all of a sudden, you're just like in this darkness bubble, and it's just like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I feel like what they could have done. I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I feel like what they could have done was maybe like have Elsa make some like frozen monster thing, and you fight that. That way, you're not fighting her, but you're fighting something that she created. I don't know.
I think that was the big miss in this game, was that the past games did such a beautiful job of blending like the villains into like the theme of what they were trying to tell with that world and what lessons Sora would learn. Like there was such a good mix of how they did that in the past games, where I think in this game, like we said, like the random boss was just a wolf, and it was like, well, this is kind of like anticlimactic. Like even the use of like the big plot, right, of like the Organization 13 members, like there was such a good mix in the past games of how they would do it. And so I think in this game, that was the number one argument, was like, yeah, they didn't do that well. Like everybody says Kingdom Hearts 3 didn't care about the Disney worlds in this one because all they cared about was the ending, right? That was like the biggest thing I think that almost everybody will tell you for Kingdom Hearts 3, was that like it was the ending was the best part of the entire game almost.
Yeah, well, because it kind of, it almost feels like it almost feels like filler almost, right? Because like the beginning of the game is like, okay, Sora, you need to, I guess spoilers if you haven't played any of the Kingdom Hearts games, but you know, you need to go get your power back again because of what happened in Dream Drop Distance. It's like, okay, cool, let's go ahead and do this, right? And so the first world, you go off to Hercules area in Olympus, right? And it's like, okay, so then he's gonna do this, and then he's like, I don't know, you know, it almost just feels like they're padding it out for so long, because every now and then you get a couple of sprinkles of Riku and Mickey and the other characters, right?
Yeah. And
then eventually it's like, okay, now we're going full force, you know, go into the darkness world, get Aqua, rescue Ven, yada yada yada, right? And then it's like a speed run at that point almost, right? Whereas in past games, it was like you went to the Disney worlds, right? You fought a boss, then you left, and you weren't there for so long, and then you came back to it, right?
That's what they did good too. 2 was excellent for that.
This game, right? But in this game, I felt like I spent like almost 3 hours in a Disney world, and then you never went back to it or something like that. I was just like, okay, I'm the entire time. Yeah, so it was definitely pacing. It was definitely pacing.
Yeah, it changed.
It was definitely pacing. Yeah.
What was your guys' favorite world that you went to in terms of like Disney places?
In all of the games, or the third one?
In all the games, or in 3?
Just 3.
For 3 for me is definitely Toy Box. I mean, I'm a big Toy Story fan, so that was like the most, I think, anticipated world for me.
I like Monsters Inc.
I did love Monsters Inc. I thought as a world that was one of the better ones. And Tangled, like, because I really thought, you know, I had just watched Tangled for the first time with my girlfriend who I was dating at the time, and I was like, this movie is actually really great. I never watched this one, you know. Then the game came out and it had Tangled World, and I was like, this is like that one. They did the gags from the movie really well, right? And kind of kept the feeling overall of the movie and it being kind of light and fun, which is like the opposite of what happened with Frozen World, where it just felt like, hey, here's a song and here's a lot of nothing.
Yeah, like going, oh, no, don't forget, you got to go up and down the mountain like 5 times.
I hated that so much, dude.
That was the worst part of the entire game.
And you can kind of tell that Disney, you know, mingled a little bit, especially in the Frozen world, because like you had one of the organization members there, and you're like, okay, we're gonna, you know, have to foil her plan and everything like that. We'll probably fight her as well, but you know, whether we fight Elsa or fight whatever Elsa makes or something like that, and then she like just disappears.
Yep.
It's like, okay. And then basically the movie plays out.
Yeah.
And then five trips up the mountain and down later, then we finally beat the boss, and we're like, okay.
So
cool,
back to four, right?
Yeah, back to four, I guess.
We derailed so far out of
we
four.
derailed so much, but you know that's what a podcast is sometimes.
As you can tell, we hate Arendelle. That's where this is coming from, and this is where a lot of this anger stems from. But back to four real quick. I'm going to jump in for four. We all saw the trailer, right? I think we all did, right? Everybody saw it. We're good.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Check out our breakdown of it as well. Our own editor Stray actually did a what did you miss?
Was it? Yeah,
great stuff. Go check it out. Yep.
That was he did a real good job with that. But back to four. So I don't want to talk like a play-by-play by it, but I mean, like Tallen had mentioned, right? Four is from that little snippet that we got was such a big departure in terms of look. Right. And I think that was the big hot topic. And it was whoa, I don't like my Sora looking too real. And I don't like my Sora looking like too much of a Final Fantasy character. And that was what I think one of the big talked about topics was that there was such a deviation from that cartoony, right, Disney aesthetic of this animated, Kingdom Hearts game that we're so used to, but making such a deviation to this. And we, fast forward, people didn't like that characters had come up in the trailer, which I don't know. Do we want to talk about characters? That might be going too deep into it, but there's definitely characters that were brought up where people were just I don't know who the hell that is. But this kind of goes back to what Tallen was saying, where he's oh, screw the mobile games. But guess what, Tallen? Those damn mobile games are important to the
damn
lore
mobile games. I know, I have all these backstories and everything. It's God damn it, Square, what are you doing?
Yeah, so that's what they did. And again, I'm just bringing up points where people were oh, no, I didn't like that, or I didn't like that. But, my personal take was, I guess, design-wise, just the way it looks, I'm digging it. I'm excited because as they dubbed it, when they showed it, this is the Lost Master arc. Brand new arc, right? This means we could probably be getting another 3 games, right, within this arc, just like how we had the Dark Seeker saga.
Be honest, we're going to have three main ones, 4 mobile games, 2 games that somehow set in the path.
We have one already, Missing Link, which... I don't know if I'm going to play it. I mean, I could toss it to you guys if you guys will think you're going to play it or not. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm going to play it. I'm not going to say I'm not sure. I'm going to play it because it is not, so far from what I've seen, Union Cross, which makes me feel a lot better because Union Cross, I played it, but I feel like I played it and I hated it from the beginning, but I played it because it was Kingdom Hearts and I was going to. But this, if this looks like it's taking assets and whatnot from Kingdom Hearts 3, and they're dubbing it as a location-based action game, whereas the other one, right, was turn-based. I don't even want to call it turn-based. It was just tap the damn medals and activate the abilities or whatever. So this has more promise, but it also is supposed to be another big story chunk, which again, I know we're kind of talking about the story here, but it seems like it's going to be really important and relevant to probably some of the stuff that leads into this whole new arc for the Lost Master arc. But I don't know, I was excited. I mean, they showed bits of gameplay, right? What did you guys feel about the little bit of gameplay that they sort of showed, which again, I'm going to say it most likely wasn't actual, it's legit actual gameplay. It's going to be probably more of those I think when they cut it and they edit it and make it look like as if it's actual gameplay and everything. But they showed some cool stuff.
Running up the building and everything that?
Yeah, there's people who are oh, that's actual gameplay, and it's in-engine footage, right? It's what it's going to somewhat look like when you kind of get the final thing.
Well, the way I look at it is it's very similar to, and didn't they do the exact same thing for the 3 trailer? You had Sora running up the side of Olympus and everything like that, right? So this is how I personally see that, just like that. But I will say one thing when it comes to Sora's look and everything like that. Go back and watch the original snippets of the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers at the very beginning, right? And then look at the game we have now. They don't really look the same, right? Obviously the clothes are there and everything like that, but was it Traverse Town? No, not Traverse Town. Twilight Town.
Yeah.
Because the very first trailer they ever showed was just Tornado of Heartless and Sora running around, right? And while most of that look had stayed in the original final product and everything, they still changed some stuff and kind of brought more back, I guess, the cartooniness that a lot of people liked and everything like that. And keep in mind, with Sora in this new world, which is basically just a remodel of Tokyo, essentially. If that's just one world, that's what he'll look like. And then he goes back to a Disney World, or he goes back to his home, his home island. He's gonna probably look what everyone is used to and everything like that. Plus, I don't see a problem, in my personal opinion at least, with him growing up a little bit. I felt like 1 and 2 kind of showed a good progression of him growing up, and especially into Dream Drop Distance. 3, I don't know. He didn't really grow up in my personal opinion.
I don't think too much time passed, if I'm not mistaken, from 2 to 3. They did confirm a year has passed since 3.
Right. Right, exactly. So I'm expecting a little bit more maturity. I'm not saying to make him emotionless or anything like that, or he's not gonna be the Sora we all know. But it's like there's nothing wrong with growing up, and FYI, we all grow up in the future. So
never, Tallen, never.
Surely not. Tallen?
Never,
yeah, never growing up. But real quick,
I'm 30 years old and I still feel
Keyblade
Keyblade?
grapple. What are your guys' thoughts on Keyblade grapple and reaction commands are back? That's the two big things they showed, honestly.
I'm digging it.
I'm always down for reaction commands. Like, I love the reaction commands.
Thank you.
And Keyblade grapple, like, I really like the parkour system they introduced in 3. Like, more of that is fine with me.
Yeah, they did show some of that in the beginning too. He was like running up the railing, jumping up the light post. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yep. Gets
I'm glad reaction commands are back.
Okay.
Oh, I was just saying, I'm glad reaction commands are back. Dude, I feel like the ending of 2, like with the reaction stuff they had in that, was just like unforgettable. So I hope they have like similar, like, yeah.
Those little bits of like cinematic cuts were just chef's kiss for a lot of those fights.
Yeah, they were QTEs, but like it was pretty epic, right? Like,
yeah.
And I was when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, I was like a junior in high school because I'm old, right? So like I remember playing that and being like, this is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, right? And that was 20 years ago now. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, one game that I always like to compare it to as well that did it just as good in my personal opinion is like some of the later God of War games and everything like that, where they're able to blend it so well that they look like quick time events and everything like that, but it doesn't drag on for so long, and you get to see this awesome action happen and everything like that. So I've always thought those two personal games. I mean, plus let's just say this right now: Kingdom Hearts 2 Sephiroth fight. Like, it better bring that back and forth. That better be back and forth, Square. I don't care.
In that place too, the new place. It's so fitting.
I know. It is. It is
God, bro.
fitting. Like, bring back the Sephiroth fight. I know there are other hard boss fights in 3 and everything like that, but I want my Sephiroth fight. We had it in 1, we had it in 2. It better be back in 4, man.
Yeah, that's always the best part of the game. Like,
oh yeah, no,
all that stuff from 2.
Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to add in, right, is there was also the little, because I think that's the bulk of what that trailer kind of showed, but there was of course the one piece that people kind of they blew it up and they showed the evidence, and the evidence looks pretty good, and you guys know where I'm going with this, and this would be a big, I won't say a big departure, I'll just say it's a bit of a departure from the whole first phase of Kingdom Hearts games that we got, but it would be introducing what it was that they saw. What they think they see is the foot of an AT-ST, which for those of you that don't know what that's from, that is from Star Wars. And so that's the big thing right now is in this new arc, right, where it's supposed to be, I don't want to go into lore stuff, but it's supposed to be unreality of their reality, which is more like our reality. And so they're saying more reality based worlds. And so if that's true, I mean, I have to hear you guys' thoughts. Star Wars.
I'm kind of there for it personally.
Go for it.
I'm all for it. I mean, I know, I am too, and I know people are gonna be like, no, we gotta, it's supposed to be this Disney and Square Enix look and everything like that. I want my cartoony Sora back and everything.
Yeah.
Right, and look, and I get that, but that arc is done now, right? We had our Xehanort arc, which is supposed to be 1, 2, and 3, and all the other games mixed in there. It's like, it's not saying that they have to just cut out Disney or anything like that. Like, they're obviously not going to do that because that's a huge selling point right there. But what's the harm in doing a couple extra, worlds that are quote unquote not Disney-like worlds, right? Because I mean, we know Disney owns Star Wars now and everything like that.
Right.
But what's wrong with tapping into some of that, Star Wars lore, the Marvel Cinematic Universe or something like that? I know people might cringe at that and everything, but if they do it right, now if they do it wrong, then yeah, we're all gonna cringe, right? But if they do it right, then that's great. Just don't let Disney dictate like they did with 3 and a lot of the Disney world.
I mean, it already seems like this game has less Disney less of Disney being tough on them. Like,
Yeah.
because
Right.
this doesn't look like something that Disney would be like, here's the green light. Like, this is something where they must be like, okay, hey, you know, we're going to give Nomura a little bit more of what he wants. And it seems like, I mean, there's already the parallels of this game with Versus. I always get the name wrong. Was it Versus 13? I think it was.
Versus 13. Yep.
Yeah, like there's so many of those comparisons, which is an old game that Nomura, like, it was like a passion project for him. And so that whole thing didn't really work out right. And so there's so many
A lot of that's
parallels
in here
between what
now.
they showed here with that one. Yeah. So
which
it
is
seems
cool,
like they're
which is
really
definitely
giving
cool.
him more freedom. Go ahead.
Yeah, which I'm all for. Which I'm definitely for.
Yeah, as long as I get a lightsaber keyblade, like, I'm
Facts.
good.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. And
dude,
Darth Vader.
That'd be
there are
so
already
sick.
mods in the PC version of Kingdom Hearts 3. Come on, just do it.
Dude, people are already working on this stuff in the mod world. It's insane. It's absolutely
It is.
insane.
That's
Also,
really cool. I'm all for it.
My wish for anywhere for Sora, Donald, and Goofy to go is Springfield, because that could happen.
God, that would be insane.
Let-
I don't know
let's
about
be
all
real.
that, buddy, but that would be pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I don't know about all that either.
Yeah,
I just
don't
want
be
a
wishful thinking,
keyblade where
Bobby, but
the handle is like a donut, like a sprinkled donut.
the Krispy
you know?
Kreme. What is it? What is it? I forget. I think it's
The
Krispy
lard
Kreme,
lad
right?
donuts.
Or that's what it is. Yeah, and we're eating
Yeah,
Krispy
the-
Kreme. Sorry, I'm just hungry. Don't listen to me.
Krispy
Sounds
Kreme's
like it, man.
IRL. Lethal.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
IRL ones.
Lethal, what,
Sorry.
you go pal.
Sora's
No,
coming-
guess-
I'm hungry,
coming
just a
IRL.
little bit.
That must be it.
I guess my final wish, though, in terms of the Kingdom Hearts is like, you know, obviously the big first one should be to anybody. Let them take all the time they need to make this game.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
we joke
100%.
and kid about, you know, this game come out in 2099 and everything like that, but take your time. Don't rush this. I know Nomura said in an interview that, you know, he didn't like how long it took to get 3 finally out, but at the same time, take your time. Don't crunch yourself or anything like that, and make the best game that you possibly can. Again, hopefully that no one comes in and, you know, restricts you on anything like that. And, you know, hopefully this will be all good. And I will say, actually, a few more worlds than 3 did, because I think 3 had the least amount of worlds compared to the other games. So
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, it might have.
yeah, but again, that's my final hopes. What are your guys' just final hopes, like in a sentence or two? What are your final thoughts?
I
I'm
just wanted to see
excited. Go ahead, Iron. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Take it.
Dude, I was talking, right? No, sorry. I was just saying, I think we talked about this at PAX with your buddy Cam about just
Yeah,
the
shout out to Cam
forms. Like, I
Hawkins.
feel like,
we saw the homie, and I would love to have him on here. Just pointing out there, Cam. Just saying.
yeah, but no, the forms, dude. Like he was mentioning that like it felt good using those forms because you earn that, right? Or like in 3, the forms, it was just like, you know, you spam the attack button a couple times and you get to transform, and it was cool for like the first couple of times. But after you do it like the 50th, you're like, all right, I get it, you know, transforming, it's pretty sick. But it's just, yeah, I would really like to bring the forms back from 2 that you had to work for, and just like they had different times where you would use one, and the ultimate one looked sick, and I like that they each had different designs. But yeah, I would love to see
I'm
the
actually,
forms
yeah,
back.
I'm
I
definitely all
agree
for
with that. That's a big one. I hope to see them possibly do. But according to translations, they have a whole new thing going on. It seems cool with like destruction and reconstruction. But maybe we'll have to do a separate video for this because we can
Well,
go
we'll
in
have to
depth.
do a separate video on it.
Yeah, we'll have to go
100%.
separate.
No rides.
Oh God,
Oh,
no!
yeah,
Get rid of those.
please.
I'm fixed on that.
No,
Like that,
man.
God,
that's
get
another
rid of
thing that
those.
was really cool the first time, and then by like the third
Yeah.
time you're like, okay, this takes like 35-40 seconds, and it's just like it's not powerful enough to justify me having to sit here and waste my time like this. I
No,
don't
it is
know.
just.
It
Get,
just
get
it
that,
looked pretty.
Get that stuff out of here.
Yeah,
Get it
like
outta here.
Yeah.
but man, that was just like ugh, like ugh. After a while, it's just so boring.
I think for me, what I would say is my last remark is I want them, we talked about it a bit in 3, but I want them to make these Disney worlds in this game like mean something. Like I want it to be a good blend of what's going on in Sora's like, you know, current like timeline and what's going on with him. And, you know, this is supposed to be his version of death. Like this is, it's so weird, like or his death or his afterlife, right? Like this is supposed to be like something of that type of nature. So I want them just like build that into the different Disney worlds where it goes back to like, you know, just having blending of good story. And like, for example, Star Wars, like talk about the, like I want them to talk about the Force. Like I'm not saying Star Wars into the Force. If they do make that a thing, that would be awesome. I would love to see it. But if they don't, I just want them to tap into some of that story, right? Like talk about the Force and what it means to Jedi and all these things. Like I just want them to really go good with like the Disney worlds this time, especially Star Wars.
Yeah.
If there
I mean,
is a
I mean,
Star
heck-
Wars, oh, go ahead, Tallen.
Okay. No, I was just gonna quickly say, like, I mean, come on, it's like it's almost like staring you in the face, where it's like, you know, the light side, the dark side, the light,
right. That's what I'm saying. Like, they have it. Like, I know though, and I feel like Nomura knows. Like, he's like, all right, this is, I think, what he wanted to do, and I feel like he's gonna do it. I think it'll be a good one.
So
I guarantee you that if there's a Star Wars world, Donald and Goofy are gonna be like R2D2 and C3PO.
Oh my gosh,
100%. Like Goofy's gonna be
so
like
funny.
like the silver C3PO, you know, and Donald's gonna be like an R4.
Yeah,
that's
calling it now.
Calling it now. Calling the shot.
Calling it now. Calling it now. All right, there we go. All right, let's move on from Kingdom Hearts 4 because I feel like we could probably have an entire podcast of this if we wanted to, but we got some other topics to talk about. So next, a little bit of topic, which is more recent news actually, is that we have confirmation of a Sonic Origins game coming out, which is covering, I believe it's the very first 3 games of Sonic from the original days. But they're removing the classic games from shops, which is very similar to what Rockstar did when they released the GTA trilogy. They took off the individual games from the stores so you couldn't buy it and were forced to buy this. And people are not very happy about that. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't know.
It's understandable.
Iron, you take it. Iron's the big Sonic guy here, I think.
Yeah,
I think he's the big.
I mean, he's literally wearing the Sonic shirt.
This is an Iron story. Iron, this
right.
is where you shine, bro. Like, you
gotta shine right now, man. Come on.
Tell Sega.
Yeah,
tell them what they need to know.
First of all, I just want to make an announcement that if you own a phone, which I imagine you do, you might even be watching this on a phone, you can get Sonic 1, 2, and CD completely free. And these games will be delisted from the mobile game stores, so get them right now. You can get them for free. You can spend like $2 to get them ad-free, but you could get the games for free. So definitely Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and CD. But yeah, basically they're removing... I'm gonna grab that myself. Dude, Bobby, right now, get it. There's literally no reason not to. Like, they're actually free, and it especially burns mobile players just because you're going from free to $40 on like a console or a PC, which is quite the jump, you know. And I think the only caveat is for the Switch. The Switch, you can get Sonic 1 and 2 through Sega Ages, and I think if you have one of Nintendo's subscription services, you can get them for free or with the service. So that's the only caveat, the only way you can get those classic games. But yeah, Sonic 1, 2, CD, and 3 and Knuckles are going to be delisted everywhere. So, you know, definitely get the games while you can because they're going to be a hell of a lot cheaper individually than through Origins. I'm still going to pick up Origins because I'm a big Sonic guy. They're adding like cutscenes for the games, which is going to be cool. Like, you know, add the story bits that we didn't get in the originals. That's cool. I think that. Origins is going to be cool. It's nice to have all this classic games in like one package, but it's kind of scummy, man. Like, I feel like people would have bought Origins without them delisting the originals. Like, if anything, I feel like if you bought the originals, it would give you more an incentive to possibly buy Origins, right? Maybe you want to see those cutscenes that they're including or the new features that they're adding. So I feel like they're almost shooting themselves in the foot in one vein. But I get it, you know, it's a business. They want to, you know, get that bag, but it definitely is a little scummy to me. And I didn't like it when Rockstar did it, and I don't like it when Sega did it. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Well, one thing
I think they're dipping their toes in the water to see how far they can go with something, right? Like, how much backlash will they get?
Well, one thing I just thought of is maybe you know, I'm not trying to give like, you know, multi-million or billion-dollar companies like the benefit of the doubt.
Go ahead, man. Preach. Go ahead, preach.
But like, what I'm thinking is like, if they leave them up, then someone buys like 1 and then 2 and 3, right? Because they're like, oh, these games are cool. They go, oh, I could have got it all in like a pack, right? Or now I got to pay for it twice to see the cutscenes. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that line of thinking, but at the same time, not really wanting to give a $1 million company the benefit of the doubt. You guys are probably more right than about the nefarious reasons. But yeah, I mean, you know, just kind of to play devil's advocate. That's the only reason I could see like reasonably why they would go, okay, we're going to take these old games off. That's reasonable. That's not just like, we're doing it to make you buy the new one. Which, let's be real,
Well,
that's
one
probably
thing,
what it is.
one thing that will be interesting is I remember when the GTA trilogy came out, right? And they took off each individual game from the store. If I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, those games, especially due to the modding community and everything like that, run well, right? Like they actually run well.
Yeah.
And then the trilogy comes out and it runs like ass. So
yeah, but at the same time, if you are like Sega and you're about to put out Sonic Origins, and for some reason Sonic 1, 2, 3, and CD run like ass, you need to just
stop.
You just be done.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like I can get like GTA with like how that game actually had like, you know, it's sort of advanced physics for the time, and maybe they coded them in a weird way and that resulted in like the ports going off kind of funky. But like Sonic runs on a calculator. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they pour that to everything.
like I could make one of those potato light bulb lamps and run Sonic 1 off of it. Like there's enough memory in smart light bulbs to do that, I'm pretty sure. So like if I would definitely understand people being upset if the same thing that happened with Rockstar and the GTA stuff happened, because that GTA port was like a travesty. It was awful.
Yeah, that was bad.
I don't see Sega messing up like that. Who knows? But I just I can't I can't see.
Clip it now, folks. Clip it now.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
calling
remember
the shot.
when it drops. Remember when it drops.
Iron's gonna just be in my DMs like,
Like, Bobby, you bastard.
you fucked up.
You jinxed it, Bobby.
I remember when Sonic came out, like Sonic was rad, and Sonic continues to be rad. Yeah, that's right. I was alive when Sonic came out, you young bloods. So, like, I'm hoping that at least fans like Ironcane, people who really do love it, can get this with like the cutscenes and have that story really be presented in a new way that makes it worth it. But yeah, it is kind of shady, let's say, for them to take off those old versions when it's like still just as good, you know?
Yeah. Iron, since you know most about this already, when does this come out? When does this release?
I believe it's so May 20th is when the delisting happens entirely. So that's when all the games are gonna be removed. And then June 23rd, which is also Sonic's birthday, is when the collection is coming out.
Okay. So we'll see in basically 2 months is when we'll see.
Yeah, it's coming out.
No, my gripes, I guess, with it, just because for mobile people, it's just like you can't even, from what I understand, you can't even get Origins on mobile devices. So straight up, you just won't be able to play Sonic on your phone anymore, which is that just kind of sucks. Like on consoles, like at least you'll be able to get it, right? Or PC as well. But on phones, you're just SOL. Like that's it. You're done.
Or they just drop Origins on mobile. Maybe, you never know.
That would be great. Yeah,
they might do something like that where they just like they gave it to like next year, the year after, or whatever, and then they're like, oh hey, guess what? We're bringing it to iOS and Android. You know, they could do something like that.
That would be awesome.
And I could see that too. I wouldn't be surprised either.
It'll run on it'll run on anything. Like it'll run on a butane lamp. So
that's what I'm saying. They will make money. Sega is right now in the realm of needing to make some money, so I can see them doing something like that. I won't be surprised.
One thing that upsets me though is I just looked up like Sonic Origins, like as we started talking about this, no physical release, and I don't like that because I'm old and I like to have games on my shelf.
That's weird. I didn't know that either.
Even
I guess I understand it for PC because no one buys physical for PC, but like, for consoles and everything, I purposely got the disc version of the PS5. So
and all my Switch games, unless it's like one that I have to make, like because like my YouTube channel, it's like Zelda, Pokemon, right? It's basically Nintendo. Like if it's one of those big Nintendo heavy hitters, like I'll buy the digital so that I can start playing it like 9 p.m. the day it comes out and start making content. But other than that, if it's just like a game that I want, I'm gonna buy the physical version.
Well, it makes more sense on the Switch as well.
Yeah, or even PS5. Like I have PS5, PS4, Switch games behind me. Like I like having like physical games. It's cool to me. That's like my collection. Like I can display it and people can see it and go like, oh, you have, you know, Horizon Forbidden West. Yes, I do. It's right there.
Sorry, Bobby. That's not the future, man. I'm sorry to tell you,
I'm
man.
old and stuck in my ways. I want physical releases. I will always pay for physical release, game companies. Just know that. I'll be like 80. Be like, all right, give me.
Sure,
80-year-old Bobby on
they're gonna be like, oh, look at
cane.
my collection. It's gonna be this huge collection of like how many generations of games. Oh
Be
man,
80 years old in line for Kingdom Hearts 5.
Oh,
stop!
God.
Don't even say that, man. If I'm not living by the time that like whole series ends, I'm gonna be very upset.
Oh, it's never ending. You think that series is ending? You're crazy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Don't say
Yeah,
that. I don't want to think about it.
You're right about
All
that
right.
because they're going to keep that going as long as they can.
I know.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the last two topics that we have, and this actually has to deal with both Xbox and PlayStation, actually. So first off, if you guys haven't seen the news, which I think most people have probably, is that we know what the whole PS Plus revamp system has been doing, the 3 different tiers and everything like that, and now they are apparently blocking people who are... Lethal, you might have to explain this to me just a little bit.
Sure.
People have tried to over purchase into the following year, which is considered stacking, I guess.
Yeah.
And Sony has been putting a stop to that. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure.
I just
So
heard about this.
stacking, right? It's like Tallen said, right? It is like, you know, like buying in bundle of like for this example specifically. Shout out to Wario 64. What is it? Wario 64? I think it is. Yeah, Wario 64.
Wario 64?
Yeah.
Yep.
Shout out to him for letting everybody know that like, hey, you can still be able to purchase. There's an option to still be able to purchase. I think it was a year with the PS Now, and the whole thing was that they were saying when they first announced this and first kind of talked about it a little bit, they were like, if you have if you have a PS Now, you're automatically going to get merged into the highest tier, which is the premium, right? And so basically, shout out to Wario 64, but he tossed out a link, and all this stuff should not have been accessible, I think, because if I'm not mistaken, they made it so where it was no longer accessible online, or so they claimed. And then obviously they're done with giving out like the physical prepaid cards to retailers. So whatever retailers had was like the final like last like minute stock or whatever. And so essentially what people did, I mean, you know, maybe I may have, you know, I'm sure there's other people
maybe
took
I did.
advantage of it.
Maybe not.
Maybe I don't know. But
don't tell
anyways,
anybody.
if you redeemed it, right? So essentially what I did was I redeemed the PS Now card, maybe 1 or 2. And then it went ahead and it pushed my PlayStation Now subscription all the way up until like, I think 2024 or whatever. And so now once the rollover plan goes into effect, which would be June, which is when the service launches, specifically, I think it was June 13th, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's June 12th or June 13th. But essentially when that happens, I'm automatically going to get pushed into the premium tier for like the next 2 years, but I didn't pay the actual price of 120. I kind of only paid 60, right? I kind of got it for like half cheap.
Yeah.
But essentially what they're doing is they must have caught wind of this a little bit late, or maybe it got to the point where like, hey, we caught wind of this and we're noticing a lot of people's PlayStation Now subscriptions are all of a sudden saying 2052. Like that can't be a thing. And so maybe they were like, well, we gotta have to stop this. So essentially they did. They secretly made it so that like if you try to redeem it, it just won't work. And so people are kind of pissed off because they're like, hey, I bought this, you know, and I'm trying to do this and everything. And I guess that's the like the anti-consumer aspect of it, where people are not happy because, you know, maybe they were planning on stacking it, or maybe they just bought it now and they're ready to stack it, or whatever the case may be. Anybody who did it, you know, again beforehand, like I did, you're gonna be fine if you did it for whatever years. I think it's kind of just happened, like I think this week, where they officially kind of like stopped doing that. So now you won't be able to stack until after the actual rollout happens, which is in June, again, like June 13th or whatever. But the way that they did it, it's so ugly. But they dropped a chart, and in this chart it's like a conversion chart where if you redeem a 1 month card or a 3 month card or a 6 month or whatever card or year card, it converts to like a certain amount of days for each tier. So obviously if you're looking for just the most basic tier, you can still, it's going to be like a 1-for-1, you know, conversion. Whereas if you're trying to convert to like the premium tier, you know, and you're using your 1 year PlayStation Now card, you're not going to get the 1-for-1 of just a whole nother year of premium. They're going to convert it because technically the price is 120 versus you're paying 60, right? So they're really only going to give you like half a year when you redeem it then. So you kind of got gypped in a way. So like it all in all, it just looks bad. Like this is just a move that just looks really bad. People are not happy about it. I will not be surprised if this is something that builds and then you see like in a week or two from now, PlayStation puts out another press statement and they're like, hey, we see you guys are upset. Maybe we need to like, you know, change it up, because a lot of people are looking at Xbox and they're like, oh, well, Xbox doesn't have that issue, right? They want you to do whatever you can to convert into Game Pass Ultimate or whatever. Mind you, I think Xbox right now just wants money, right? I think Xbox is doing whatever they can to get those Game Pass subscribers. Whereas PlayStation, I feel like they know they're hot shit, right? They know they're the bougie premium, like that's the hot spot. So like I think they're just trying to do the business move. And at the end of the day, it's a business and you can't blame them, right? Because I'm sure they can't be surprised that people were going to stack. Like, let's be honest. Yeah. I can't believe they're even surprised about that. But I mean, it's what they're doing is also like, it's true, it's legal, right? It's the right thing. But yeah, that's essentially right what the whole stacking issue was in a nutshell. I don't know if you guys have thoughts.
Like, I'm totally with you on that. It's like I am with Sony 9 out of 10 times. Right, on what they do. I'm like, I get it, it's a business. If you gotta raise, like, you know, you're not gonna double like PlayStation Plus price, but if like you go, hey, you can get all the, or like hundreds of PS4 games and backlog PS5 games and PS3 games and double the price there, I'm like, okay, I'm with you. I get that, right? I can accept that. Here, people bought a product that was available that they had let out. They're trying to exchange it, and now somebody's going, well, you know, not really. And I'm not really down with. Like I love Sony. I love me my PS5. I've been a PlayStation fan for years. You know, I've had every PlayStation over the years, and this is one of those times where I'm just like, Sony, I can't get behind you. Like, just let people use the cards they already bought. You don't need to like convert them and do all this. Like they outsmarted you. Sorry, it sucks, but people outsmarted you because you didn't think ahead. Like if they come out and said,
take the L and move on. Like,
yeah, take the L.
I think they will.
Go, you know what, guys?
Going to.
You got us. Good job, gamers. And gamers will go, hey, they're cool. They're cool. Awesome. And yeah, you lose a little bit of money, but you keep so much, or you don't get so much more of a hit against your goodwill, right? Yeah. Like that's the main thing, is that it makes them look bad.
Good, Iron.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think if they would have announced like, hey guys, I realize that there's an influx of people buying like PlayStation Now. I don't know what those people do. I just love PlayStation Now. That's why I stacked it. But no, if they were like, hey guys, if you buy PlayStation Now cards beyond this point, we unfortunately won't be able to honor what we saying we were gonna honor before. And they would have gave an announcement, then did it, I feel like it would have been as like bad looking. Yeah. But the fact that they just did it and there was no warning, it was like, well, bruh, like people, you know, obviously are going to abuse the system if it's abusable, but just to pull the rug out from beneath everybody and not say anything, I feel like that's a little scummy. But yeah, I feel like if they would have been like, hey guys, you know, April, blah, 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 if you know, that's when we're done with this, then I feel like people would have been a little more understanding. But yeah, I think that it was so sudden is what gets people upset.
No, yeah, that's a pretty fair point. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what their plan would be, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to end up seeing. I wouldn't be surprised also because it is PlayStation. They might just don't care. You know, they might just like, you know, sweep it under the rug and like, oh, it is what it is. Suck it up. You're not leaving us, are you? Like, you know what I mean? Because like, are people going to probably leave the platform? No. You know, like if I got hit with that, I'm not going to leave. I would take the L. But yeah, I don't know. I could also see them just doing that too. So I won't be surprised if they don't really address it. But I think
go ahead, Tallen. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt. I think one of the big things to watch out for will be when this whole thing actually releases, because ever since this whole thing was announced, not the whole stacking thing, but when just the PlayStation Revamp Plus system was announced and everything, you definitely had a lot of people on the negative side of it, to being like, what's the point? You know, like what is, you know, always compare it to Xbox Game Pass and everything like that. Which I think if anyone was thinking that Sony was going to make day one PS5 releases or anything, like that was never going to happen, because you're comparing a what, $2 billion, $3 billion company compared to a $1 trillion company in Microsoft. Like Microsoft knows they lose money on that stuff, but they can still afford to do it, where Sony was never going to. But regardless, it'll be interesting to see in that first month when it actually does release, how many people potentially bump up their subscription and everything from, because everyone, let's just say you're a player at the base 60 right now, right, which is still staying the same, but then all of a sudden you've got these options to either move up to the middle tier or then the premium tier, and the middle one is the one that gives you the PS4 and the PS5 game backlogs, and then the premium one gives you the PS3 streaming only, and then PS2, PS1, which, by the way, the reason the PS3 is only streaming is because that thing was a crap and a half to build games for, and they're still paying the price for that, essentially. So it was never good. They were never going, unless they literally remade the games for the system itself. It was only going to be streaming. And I know people, just look up anything when it comes to PS3 architecture, and people have made comments, and there's even an article by IGN that talked about like one of their coders or something like that, like went in there and was like, look, this is the reason that you're getting streaming and not physical or downloadable versions of the games, because it is still, to this day in 2022, a crap and a half to build games for that system, right? So that's the reason why. But anyway, to get back to my point though, it'd be interesting to see how many people do make that jump, because I think what a lot of people are waiting to see is, they say like, oh, you've got X amount of games in this particular bundle and X amount of games in this particular bundle. I think it was like 400 for the middle one and 700 plus for the high one. I can tag in
with that. Yeah, I can tag a little bit with that, because I have it in front of me here, because of course I don't remember. But again, we never had a chance to actually kind of like go over the tiers real quickly. So just in a very quick fashion, you're gonna automatically get rolled over into the essential tier. Sorry, too many E's. Right. To the essential tier. That's like the automatic what we have now as a PlayStation Plus.
That's tier 1 essentially.
Basically,
right, tier 1.
And then tier 2 goes into, it's going to go into basically called extra. And so extra is essentially the same thing as tier 1, right? Your regular essential tier or your PS Plus tier, the basic thing. It's going to have that. The only addition is going to be getting to that. It is going to be getting, they claim, it said a catalog of up to 400. That's what their words are via PS Blog. But it's up to 400 of PS4 and PS5 games. They don't specify exactly all of them, which again, that's what kind of a Tallen said we're still waiting.
That was supposed to be my point, is that when June hits and it releases, how many games are actually in that list? What is there essentially, right?
So they give us a small bit. I can give you what they told, like in the PlayStation blog post. They do mention Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal. Those are just naming a few of some of the games that will be offered. And so I will be honest and say, I honestly think the extra tier might be the best tier. Like if you do not care for let me roll back. Let's go to the premium tier. The premium tier, what it's going to build upon the extra, right, in the essential tier, it's a backwards compatibility catalog of their PSP, PS1, PS2, PS3 games. That's kind of what you're really getting the most from your premium. Along with that, you're going to be getting the time game trials, which is they're slowly kind of talking about that. There was a whole article that came out this week that was pretty much like, they're going to be up to 2 hours in length, which is a pretty big chunk for a game trial. At least, I don't know about you guys. To me, that sounds like a really, pretty serious chunk of time to try out a game. I'm not sure, right? There's no specific details. Is it going to be like a specific part of the game, right? Are they going to let you just have 2 hours to play the game? No, not exactly sure about how that's going to work. But that's the other kind of benefit to the premium tier. But yeah, back to what I was saying. I do think the extra tier, though, sounds pretty good if you don't care about that, the PSP, PS1, PS2, because like that's only going to cater to the people who just want to have access to those games. And don't get me wrong, I like to tell myself I want that, but in reality, you know how many times I go back and play those games on PS Now, whatever? Never. I never touch it. And so I do think it's one of those like wants versus needs. Like you don't really need it, you just kind of want it just to have it. And if you really care for game trials, but I do think like that extra tier would be really good, especially when you're looking at those games that they mentioned. For me, like Returnal. Returnals came out. What was Returnal 2021? right? I think like 2021, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
So. Around this time,
Like that's
time of year, I think,
relatively
you know.
new. So like if they're gonna add in like, you know, games from like 2021 and whatnot, and like I guess what I'm trying to say is if 2 years pass when a first party game drops, like that's not a bad deal. If you're telling me with the extra tier you're gonna get some of these games again like a year or two later, like for example Returnal. So I think it's not bad. Go ahead, Bobby. You were gonna say something.
Oh no, I was gonna say I personally feel like when this thing does come out, I'm probably gonna go with the the extra, the middle one.
Yeah, that's
Because, like,
that's a good tier.
Like Chin has PS Now right now, and he showed me he was playing Red Dead Redemption, the first one on there, and it was not impressive. The streaming was not great, and I know that's a pretty complicated game. It's a PS3 game, right? He showed me other ones that run a little better, but at the same time, it's just like you said, Lethal. Like, how many times am I really gonna go back and play like PSP games?
Yeah. Plus, it's going to depend on that catalog, right? I mean, we'll see. I mean, they can hit me good if they put a like. We didn't really talk about it, but I'll just mention they've even mentioned games like Tekken that they're going to add on their Siphon Filter. These are some of the supposedly leaked PS1 games that they're adding. So it's going to depend, I think, ultimately on that catalog. But even then, it's kind of like what Bobby's saying and what I said. I think at the end of the day, that'll be fun to do for a day or two, and then I'm going to be like, all right, well, I'm bored. This was fun to try out. What came out on PS Plus that I'm excited for? You know, like it's going to be one of those
extra
things.
bucks this year for
right, like
3 days.
It is going to be one of
gaming.
those.
I think the big thing that will sell people on that premium tier, I would say, is actually going to be more towards whatever these quote unquote the game trials is, because originally a lot of people were thinking like, wait, are they making demos? You have to buy the demo now, essentially, like that.
Yeah, people did not like that.
We don't know many, you know, because they haven't given us details. So I see one of two things happening. Either number one is that demos are still, I mean, as few and far between as demos are these days. Let's be perfectly honest. And this is on everything. This is on Xbox, PC, PlayStation, you name it, right? There are very few demos days. But either demos stay the same that they've always been. You know, if a game makes one, you can download it and try it out and everything. And this trial thing for a game means it's kind of like similar to what is it, EA Plus or whatever it is over on like the Origin store and everything like that, where you get
EA
the
Access
game
or whatever.
EA Access, yeah, and you can go for the 2 hours or however long it's going to be, right? And then you can either buy it, or, you know, it just says, okay, you're done. You know, this is what it is essentially. Or it really is as everyone fears, and demos are now in a purchasable tier. So we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen.
I can't wait to see videos of like speedrunners like being like, dude, you can beat this game within like 2 hours. Like,
and that's the other question too. Like, is it gonna just be like first party games? Because I imagine with first parties, you're not like I can't put it. Spider-Man 2. Like, if they give you a game trial of Spider-Man 2, like I don't think like you're gonna beat it in 2 hours. But like I start to think about third party games, right? Some of these indie games, like so basically, here's another thing about the game trials. Another piece of new info that came out this week. The game has to value at least $35, I believe, US dollars, for it to require a game trial. If it doesn't cost that much, then it doesn't require one. So because there are some requirements, but because I was thinking like, okay, maybe this only will apply to first party, but then I'm like, no, they're probably going to get third party people to be on board with that thing. And so I just imagine indie games, you know, that would hit that threshold and they have to come out with like a 2 hour trial or a 2 hour game trial. I'm like, man, if it's just for like right from beginning to end, you have 2 hours, you might see some people start speedrunning some of these games and be like, yeah, I beat it before it even came out. So I don't know.
2 hours, so.
Yeah. But then again, you know, if there are games on this subscription model, that means that the developers and the publishers, or I guess more so like the whole teams, they got paid, right? They still got paid to put their game on here. So does it matter, I guess, at that point, that they already got paid from Sony to put the games on the new PS Plus? So I don't know. There's some I
think it could be a hit towards a lot smaller developers and everything, because a lot of them do benefit from getting those actual sales, whereas for something like, you know, not saying Game Pass is bad or anything, but you know, like when you have a game go onto PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass or anything like that, where it's quote unquote free, right? they do lose out on those sales. So
yeah,
they do.
I think that's true, and then but it's also going to be the case of like maybe it might not sell to like the mass market. You know what I mean? Like, what if it just not be one of those games that just like blossoms? So maybe it is a better decision, right, to just cut that check, get that check from Sony, and put it on their subscription service. So it could be one of those things too, though, where they might lose money, but maybe it's just the safer thing to be like, hey, let's put our game on the new PS Plus, and Sony will write us a check for $500,000, and we're guaranteed to make money. It could be one of those things too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Or with I'll say like with Days Gone, I remember that was a big thing. Like I thought it was like one of the head developers, but they were like, a lot of people were like, oh dude, Days Gone is a pretty sick game. And then one of the guys came in like, wow, I'm glad that you guys are enjoying this game, but like since it's for free, we don't really see any of that. And I don't think there's going to be a Days Gone 2, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, there is that part of it as well.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir.
What the wait and see. So all right, let's get into our final topic then before we go ahead and end the podcast, guys. And that is the announcement of Xbox plus Bethesda. It's basically Xbox because they own Bethesda now. Showcase will be coming on June 11th, I believe is the date. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
June 12th.
June 12th. Okay, off by a day. Anyway, regardless, this is quote unquote the start of E3, even though E3 is canceled, because as we already know, most publishers / developers these days kind of do their own thing. Nintendo and Sony have been doing it for years now. Xbox is now doing their own little showcase thing, and unfortunately, a lot of people are calling this the death of E3, or maybe we do eventually see it pop up in some way, form, or fashion. But this is the start of that, and I'm sure we'll be seeing Sony and Nintendo's announcement for their Direct and Sony, whatever they call it now. And but Xbox and Bethesda, they have a lot to potentially show after all these purchases and everything like that. Not talking about obviously the Activision stuff, because that stuff hasn't even gone through yet. But what are you guys expecting to see from this? Because there's some stuff that they've announced and we haven't seen anything. And one game in particular is supposed to release this year, supposedly, and we haven't seen any gameplay yet.
Yep.
Say it.
You say it, Lethal. You say it.
That's what I was gonna say. Starfield, that damn game that I've been dying to see something for, that they keep teasing on social media, and I'm tired of the teases. Show me some freaking gameplay, and this has to be the place. This has to be the spot where they do it. Yeah, because if they don't show anything about Starfield, which I'm like positive they're going to, like there's like a 0.00001% chance they don't show it.
Flip it now, folks. Let's see if it happens.
It'd be wild if they don't, but I think for me, what I want to see realistically from Xbox, and to be honest with you, probably Fable, but Fable I don't expect to see anything for like another 20 years. But yeah, this is the game where I want to see the most, and that's just because I was always a Bethesda person, so of course like I'm gonna follow the company right where they're going, and they're going to Xbox, and so I'm excited to see that game, and that's all I want to see. I just want honestly that whole showcase can just be Starfield, and I'm good. Like I don't even care. Like there's other games like Obsidian was making Avowed, which in my opinion looked just like another Skyrim, but that's just me being me. Rare was coming out with a game that I don't even know what it was, because I'm just like, man, this isn't the Rare that I remember. Yeah, what else? I mean, there's so many games that I think I saw that I was maybe, but I think that's the one I care the most about is probably Starfield. I think they announced an Indiana Jones games. I think Bethesda was also making that. They announced that also a long time ago.
So Uncharted. We already have our Indiana games. It's called Uncharted.
I want to see it.
Yeah,
I mean, that'd be one more that I'd want to see. But if I'm just being realistic here, it's just going to be Starfield. That's what I want to see.
I hope they have some like new announcements, because I don't know what it is. Like I look back to the Xbox 360 days still with a lot. Maybe it's nostalgia glasses. That's fine. That's totally fine to say that. But I just feel like what made Xbox like haven't really seen anything like that in what feels like in the last few years, especially with the can I just say this, the crash and burn of Halo Infinite. I mean, Bobby, I know you've got some words for that as well, but I mean, Halo Infinite has not lived up to what it was supposed to be. I mean, it's like another 6-month season and all this stuff.
Dude, they got a show. What are you talking about, dude? The show was amazing.
That's facts. Yeah, man. They showed his face.
The adventure of Master Chief.
I don't even. Yeah, I was just saying. Like, I don't even know how many people are actually digging it.
Yeah, but again, and I'm not trying to say like Halo's a terrible game or anything like that. I mean, there's definitely some fun in Infinite, especially with the gameplay, but I don't know. It's almost like, what does Xbox have to like and to just show Xbox essentially. And I know Microsoft's trying to do the whole thing. It's like, we don't care where you play, just play our games essentially, right? Like, I get that. That's the whole point of Game Pass on PC and your mobile devices and all that stuff, basically through the cloud and everything like that. But I don't know. I really hope that this little showcase, they have something that kind of just like blows the minds essentially, right? And maybe it will be Starfield or whatever like that. But I don't know. That's just my personal opinion on it.
Yeah, if they don't show something from Starfield on this showcase, I mean, they have to be, because they said specifically Xbox
that's like the
Bethesda,
only game,
right?
Yeah,
like that's the only game they have coming, at least that we know of. Maybe they say, hey, Bethesda's actually working on new ones. If they don't show something from Starfield, that means one of two things. It's the announcement is that it's being delayed for another year, or that if they don't show anything and they don't say it's delayed, that game is going to crash and burn.
Dude, it's going to get a lot if that happens.
Like at that point, it's going to be 5 months out from the launch, and they haven't showed gameplay at all.
Yeah,
that's scary.
I mean, I've never heard of that. I
mean, even if they show it, and they're like, yeah, but it's not coming out till like next year. Oh, I can see the Xbox people. They're gonna go off.
I smell a delay. I smell a delay coming. It's in the air.
I either smell a delay, or they show off the gameplay and they're like, yeah, it's still coming out at the same time, and everyone's gonna be like, you're gonna look to your left, you're gonna look to your right, and you're gonna be like, no, this is gonna like crash.
That's what I'm saying. And for me, it's like, it comes back to like, Bethesda hasn't had a great game since Skyrim, and that was 10 years ago.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, because Fallout 4 was like the definition of mid. And Fallout 76 was ooh.
We don't talk about that game.
Ooh.
No.
76. What?
Yeah. So.
Soldier 76.
So, you know, the whole thing I'm worried about right now with Xbox is they bought up all these companies. They're making these big moves, but again, the reason they were able to buy up these companies in the first place is because leadership has been so shit across the board for all these companies, and Xbox is not known to have strong leadership.
Yep.
Like with their whole thing, in Xbox is that they haven't had strong leadership in almost a decade, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, because Xbox used to be a brand with like great franchises and really, really awesome, cool stuff that they were like. They pioneered console online gaming. That was like the coolest thing ever. And now it's like, sure, you can say Xbox Live. You know, I'll be the first to admit Xbox Live as a service, it's like stability and things like that, is better than PlayStation, like PSN. But at the same time, like, most of the good stuff now is third party. Like Halo, as Tallen said, Halo crashed and burned. They're about to have another 6-month season with no content in it.
2 maps. That's it. 2 maps. And technically 1-1 if you don't even play one of the other game modes. Like, that just...
They said co-op is finally coming, but only online co-op and not couch co-op, which in theory should be much easier. You should have to work out all the networking. Yeah, you have to split the resources of the system.
This is how they dropped that so late. Like it's just a reminder that like if your game is just you truly feel like it, like those are such critical like components to launching this game, and if they didn't have all those things at launch, like you should just wait until it was ready. Like I always go back to that point where like they launched Halo too early. They needed to launch it when it was like had a better plan put together, when all these features that we needed day one for it to be there, when you had at least a good roadmap ready for like, you know, the online infrastructure and what you were gonna do. Like
I've got an update to that actually. So there was it's going around in the Halo community right now. I've seen some videos that just pop up in the last few days or anything, but it's not like 100% confirmed. Obviously, like I don't think they'd ever come out and admit this or anything, but very similar to how the darkened history of my beloved Battlefield series happened, unfortunately, with the shit that was 2042. Halo apparently for the first 3 years, so after 5 and everything, and Infinite went into its development and everything, the first couple to 3 years were supposed to be some kind of like hero shooter type thing.
They changed the game,
and it wasn't working out, and they went and then they changed everything back to make it to what we have now. Very similar to how Battlefield 2042 was supposed to be either a BR/hero shooter, and it wasn't working out, and so they took elements of that, and then we got 2042. Now obviously 2042 has definitely burned, I would say, a little bit more than Halo has, but regardless, that's why. And then apparently, like, when it came to developing Halo Infinite, it's like they've been stacking code on top of code instead of removing something and making it better. So trying to go back in now into the current Halo game that we have and trying to fix things takes more time because you're on top of piles of code essentially. And when I heard this information, I'm like, regardless if they come out and say this or not, it wouldn't surprise me because they're trying to chase those hero shooter trends because they see all the money from Apex and Overwatch and everything like that. It's just like, it just blows my mind. It's like, God, what has happened to these games? Like,
here's the thing: when you are working on Halo, right? I don't want Overwatch when I play Halo.
Yeah. I know.
Like, I don't want. It
sounds so simple, right?
It sounds so simple. I don't want a BR when I want to play Halo. Like, and they've already said we're putting out a battle royale. And
I've seen that. Yeah.
The thing about it is this is the kind of shit that Microsoft has been doing the past decade. Instead of being the like look, if you're 343, you're taking over for Bungie, right? You've got big shoes to fill, right? Because Bungie is like legendary in terms of Halo. Like, those games are legendary in terms of first-person shooters. Yeah, you've got big shoes to fill, but you also have the giant, excuse my language, the giant swinging dick of an IP that is Halo. Like, you have a responsibility to put that IP and really go like, okay, we need to push this, we need to make this, we need to continue this tradition of this being the #1 go-to first-person shooter IP in the world. Right. And after Halo came out, Call of Duty came out, really gave it a run for its money. But I contest that there's people who played Call of Duty and there was people who played Halo. Like, and there wasn't a lot of crossover. Like, any day of the week back in Bungie days would have played Halo over Call of Duty. Nowadays, I don't really play either because they're both like boring and they're trying to do too much stuff that's not their game, But like, when you have something as powerful as Halo and you go chasing trends when you're working with the IP that set the trends, that's how you know that like 343 doesn't know what they're doing. They just don't know. They're just trying. They're grasping at anything and everything to try and get.
Well, I think it shows. I think it shows that whole management thing, right? Because you talked about earlier, Bobby, about how the Xbox management has kind of been all over the place recently, especially in the last few years. Yeah, that has obviously trickled down into the heads of those development studios, right? So the heads of 343, the heads of, insert here. And it's happened. It's not just Xbox, right? It's happening across the entire industry. I mean, that's what Bobby literally just talked about, everyone. That's literally what happened with Battlefield. It's that the heads of DICE, because they're obviously not the ones that originally made DICE back in the days and everything. Most of those people moved on, which is normal. We get that and everything. But the heads of DICE and the heads of EA are the ones going, we want to chase these trends. It's like, why are you chasing trends? You are the trend already. You have made the industry standards already. They should be copying you, not the other way around. And look at what happened to you. Your games have both crashed and burned, basically. I'm not saying they're dead, but they're crashing and burning, and people are leaving. We can tell by the numbers. And don't give me that whole, well, it's only Steam numbers and everything. Look at the numbers they had when all of this stuff came out originally, right? And now look at what they have.
Halo has what, like 2% of its player base left from the original.
Something like that.
There's not that much left, I think, right?
That game's free to play. That game's free to play.
Yeah, that's the worst part, is that it's free to play. That's a tough, like, Battlefield. Like, okay, people heard, like, the first reviews came out like the day before, and people canceled pre-orders and they didn't buy it. And
exactly. Didn't buy everything.
But Halo is it's free. That'd be like if someone was like, Fortnite has like 4,000 players right now. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean?
I was gonna say, I think Halo needs a break. I think
It does.
I think this is one of those. This is what happens when you just reuse an IP, and there's just like not much like difference between it, or not just that, but like what after 3 was when like the whole thing just went down. I think for Halo, and just the like it just went down, right? And I just kind of feel like at that point, like you need to take a break. You need to leave the Halo IP alone. And this is the one thing I love about PlayStation, what I love about Sony, is that they built so many different IP that have just been so successful, and they've taken the time with their creative teams, and they have a lot of great creative people that build these stories, and they build the gameplay and everything. They're so good. But when you look at PlayStation, like they just have such a memorable catalog of just iconic characters and iconic games. Whereas I always felt like Xbox, they like, how many times have we seen Halo and Gears? Like the only 2 things, I swear to God, that's all they ever were known for so long. And they had this problem of not building a portfolio of multiple successful IP. Like they're trying to bring back, what was this game, Perfect Dark? Like they're trying to bring it back, but guess what? Now people are not happy with the project. They weren't happy with the higher ups. People have now left that project. Leaving? Crystal Dynamics came in, and now it's a Crystal Dynamics project. Like it's like you said, it's an issue with management, and not just that. There's so many problems, but like I think it's time they just need to start building these newer IP, newer worlds, like get something new in there to bring back your brand. But I guess that's why they brought all these people, right? Like,
yeah, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to be like, well, Xbox is a place where we have Call of Duty, we have Overwatch, like that's Xbox stuff. And like, to me, that I look at it and go, you can buy all the shit you want. You can buy every studio that you want. It's not going to make Xbox better as a brand, because in the back end, right? Like, think about it, when you build a house, the first thing you need is a foundation, and that's what your management is in any company, right? Mm-hmm. Like here at 5-9, I'm very grateful for the managers we have, because you guys do a great job. You know, like I'm very happy that I can speak to my managers, and you know, they help me out. Xbox clearly doesn't have that. They don't have the studios don't have the support. They get told things like, no, you got to get this game out. It doesn't matter, right? That's what happened with Halo. Let's be realistic. Halo, they had the first thing. Xbox was like, or Microsoft was like, got to get this out. And they said, we cannot get it out for the release year. So they said, okay, then it's going to be out 2021. It's going to be. We don't care. And so they released it. And look where it is. Like, the campaign is supposed to, like, from my understanding, the campaign is supposed to be like a live service too. Nothing has been said about that at all.
That's not gonna happen until like year 3, probably.
Nothing. Like, they're like, oh yeah, we're getting you like 2 new maps this next season, and like 1 game mode that we had in every other Halo before this, but we finally put it together for this one. It's like, didn't you also say like this whole story is supposed to continue, and that's why the story, like the ending of the story, was so like half-assed, because it's supposed to continue, and it's not doing that, because it's just the same thing that happened with Anthem, right? And Anthem was bad management too. Was they're playing so much catch up to fix the game because they didn't have it ready, that now, like, when they're supposed to be having content out, they have nothing, because they're just trying to patch up everything that they didn't get done in the first place. Because like clearly no one is stepping up to go like, this is what we need to be doing. And like, sorry, I'm on a tirade about Halo because I loved Halo, and Infinite made me so sad.
I can tell we definitely got off topic.
Man, go off.
But like Halo is just such a great franchise. Like, go start up the Master Chief Collection, play through those first Halo, like those first 4 or 5 Halo games.
Aren't more people playing the Master Chief Collection now than Infinite?
I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
Yes,
no
that's true.
way.
I wouldn't be
That's
surprised.
true.
I gotta check that now. Go ahead and keep talking. I'm gonna check that right now.
But with the same thing, when we're talking about Halo 343, the same thing has been happening with Bethesda, right? And the same thing is like happened with Crystal Dynamics. We saw Avengers, right? Like, I still enjoy Avengers. I don't play it as much anymore, but I still hop into it every once in a while for fun. It's actually gotten a lot better. Like, they added like daily stuff for you to do, and like weekly and monthly stuff. Like, they have all these like levels of stuff, and I go, that's cool, but that should have been in there at the launch. It's been like 16, 17 months, right? And again, this management problem, and it's like Tallen said, happened with Battlefield, right? It happened with Call of Duty clearly too. Like, every single AAA space seems to be having these management issues because the profit is becoming more important than the product.
It's their only goal, right? Profit's their only goal, and they don't actually care about the product. Yep.
But like, at the end of the day, if you give people enough bad products, right? If you know, let's say you go to like Burger King and eat a Burger King like once a week, right? And then 1 week after you eat a Burger King, like you don't feel great. You might go, okay, well, that's never happened before. But if like you go and then about half the time when you're going, you feel like you're getting sick or something, you're gonna stop going to Burger King, right? Like you're not gonna take something that's tainted over and over and over, and that clearly shows with like Halo's player base, with Xbox sales being under PlayStation sales. Even though Xbox are more widely available right now, people want a PlayStation 5 because it's got IP that Sony works on and lets their studios really cultivate, right? Same thing with Switch. Like, man, it bummed me out so much when they announced Breath of the Wild was going to be delayed, Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel to Breath of the Wild. But you know what? At the same time, I go, cool, Nintendo.
Better.
Like, I accept it. I respect it. Like, go ahead and do it. You delay it as much as you need, because I know it's going to be great when it gets here.
So here are some numbers real quick to look at the Master Chief to the Halo charts, okay? So I'm looking at peak players right now. So obviously we know they dip and everything due to times and all that stuff. Sure. But anyway, so peak players. So let's go when the game came out, and then so we'll look at November 2021 for both games and now, okay? November 2021 for Halo Infinite, peak players is 256,000 players, okay? Yep. The average players, it says average players was also 102,000, okay?
Okay, sounds
Master Chief Collection at that same time, November 2021, average players was 6,900 and peak was 13,000. Okay, so what you'd expect, right? New game comes out, all that stuff. Okay, now let's look at last 30 days. Okay, so last 30 days for a Halo Infinite is average players 5,000, peak players 10,000. Okay, this is the last 30 days. If we want to look at the last 24-hour peak, it's 9,000. Okay, Master Chief Collection last 30 days. Average players, 4,000. Peak players, 9,000. It has seen a spike in players go up, according to this, 76%. Because people are just leaving Halo Infinite.
People are leaving Halo Infinite.
And its 24-hour peak right now for Halo Infinite is 6,500. Which is obviously still lower than Halo Infinite, but it looks just like Battlefield, where you're having 1, 5, and even 4 be above those. So there are your numbers right there.
And that I mean, it comes back to, again, that Xbox hasn't been able to manage brands. And they Microsoft, we're all using computers that run on Windows, right? Like, of course they're going to have all the money in the world. But my question is like, eventually, you know, Daddy Microsoft is going to look at, what's his name? What's the guy? Phil Spencer, right? Eventually, he's going to look at, you know, Daddy Microsoft is going to look at Phil Spencer and be like, no, you're cut off, man. Like, you're not making us money. You're not doing anything. Because Phil Spencer right now is going like, no, let's pay all these companies this money for Game Pass. And yet people go like, well, Game Pass makes all this money every month. It's got 30 million subs. Let's say it's got 30 million subs.
It's been increasing, I think, yeah.
Sure. But notice how they don't put numbers out.
Yeah,
they always say it's increasing, but they never put numbers out because they know the numbers wouldn't look as good as they want them to, right? Didn't they project something like 40 million by last summer, and they just hit like 30 million this winter?
Something like that.
Yeah. So like, obviously, like, now part of that is people don't have Xboxes, right? Or they don't want to pay to Game Pass till they get their new Series X or something, and it's fair. But at the same point, like, you got to go, how much money are they just burning? Servers, programmers, right? Paying the devs for the games to put on the thing in the first place. All this money is being burned. I'm just really hoping that Xbox as a brand, as a brand that was so great once upon a time, can pull all this together, because right now it's just like, they're like a spoiled rich kid. They're trying to use money to solve all their problems, when really, like, a little bit of introspection, you know, like looking inside and going, okay, what's going on and what's causing all these issues, would solve 10 times more than the money ever could.
Well, I'm curious to know if they're having these management issues right now, and now you're going to bring all these Activision
Yeah, you're forgetting
people
Activision.
in, like, oh my, like I'm like, I'm not saying it's gonna kill Microsoft or anything like that. No one try to take that into context, but oh my god, the headache of whoever's trying to oversee all that is just like, oh god.
And again, that's even if like is the FEC, right?
I'm like that,
FTC?
yeah. The
FTC, so one of those 3-letter government agencies. You know, they're looking into it, and if they don't let the sale go through,
they're the final say, I think. Yeah,
but like both sides of the stock are gonna, like, Microsoft's gonna go down and Activision Blizzard's gonna go down a ton, right? Because like, I mean, that is a big acquisition, and you know, like the definition of, like, you know, people go like, oh, it's a monopoly because they're buying. No, it's because Sony, look at Sony is buying up a bunch of studios, and Sony owns more, right? But Xbox using that money, or Microsoft using that money to help Xbox, that's them using money from another industry, right? Which is where the monopoly talk comes in. So like, I want to see Microsoft work on its, or excuse me, Xbox work on its own legs outside of Microsoft, and not have to go ask them to buy up every studio. Like, I want to see them do great things, right? Like,
yeah, and I think that's what we're hoping from this Xbox and Bethesda showcase, right? Is that we get to see some of that, hopefully, because it's been a few years now, and it's like, okay, you know, we're not asking for, you know, everything must be done on the Xbox showcase day or something like that, right? Obviously, like that's honestly unrealistic. But like, just have, you know, just say, look, okay, look, this is what's coming out, this is what we're working on right now, and this is what you can expect.
Yeah,
like
Fable, Hellblade, Starfield. Yeah. Like, give us the good stuff now. Like, it's been 2 years. Give us the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we're not saying you have to have every single one of those things done, obviously. Like, oh yeah, every single thing is going to release this winter. Get your wallets ready or something like that. But just be like, okay, look, guys, we know we haven't shown anything, but here's Starfield. It's pretty much ready. It'll be ready to go in the holiday season or whenever it's supposed to release. By the way, also, next year, we're going to have Fable as well at around this time. And we're going to have this other game at this time, right? Like,
Lethal's like, please give me Fable.
Yeah.
That game's not coming anytime soon.
I'm just giving an example.
Wait. Fable or Kingdom Hearts 4 first?
Kingdom Hearts 4. That's 100% happening before. If I'm not mistaken, Playground Games, which is working on Fable, they just came out with the Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, they
I think.
did Forza. Yeah.
Yeah, they were just talking about how, like, this is new territory for them, and I'm like, all right, never mind. Like, just let it go at that point, dog.
All right.
You shouldn't have said
Kingdom Hearts
that.
4 2099, Fable for
the year
3010.
Yeah.
Tallen, that needs to be the next direct, like, poll. You know, the polls you put out.
Yeah, it's
like, which is coming first, Fable,
What is
Kingdom
coming
Hearts 4?
first, Fable or Halo? Or Kingdom Hearts? Yeah,
that would be a
juicy one. That'll be a juicy one. So make sure you guys find that poll, because actually, you know what I'll do? I'll make that poll release around the same time that this podcast is going live. So if you guys are watching this right now, go. The poll's already there in the community tab. Go check it out. So. All right, I think we have rambled on long enough. We've been here for quite a while. So I think with that being said, unless anyone has any last minute things they want to touch up on, we're going to end the podcast here. Anything else, guys?
I just want to say, I think, like, I'm more of a Sony guy, more of a Nintendo guy, but if you are, like, aligned with those signs, like, I think Xbox just being successful is just good for the industry. It's just healthy competition.
Yes.
So I definitely want to see Xbox, you know, do well. It's just, you know, even if I am a Sony guy.
Anytime you have industries that do well across the board, that's more competition, that's better products for us as the customers. So
exactly. And then you know, I mean, just like I said, a brand that people love. Like, I want to love Xbox again, right? Like,
it's the Indiana Jones games, man. That's gonna be the savior right there. That's what we're waiting for.
Can you imagine?
Xbox
like,
was the king of the castle.
Yeah,
Xbox was the big dog in its day.
They were.
It was. There were.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember back when I was junior high. Was it junior high school time ish, where the Xbox reigned supreme over the other two.
They got all the
for a while.
exclusives. Everything.
Yeah, all the exclusives and everything, like they did. And then when 1 and 4 for the consoles came out, that's where it started to go down,
man.
unfortunately.
The online stuff, I feel like that was the turn. That was the turn of the new beginning.
The 360 did great. Like, they burned me with the 360, and I still am sketchy on ever buying Xbox hardware again because I had two 360s. Yeah, 2 of them in less than a year. So
oh gosh, that's terrible.
Oh man.
But like I remember those days and loving those games and loving playing the console. Like, I want them back. Like show me you can do something, right? But it's it. You know, it is what it is.
All right, guys. I think with that being said, though, we're going to head out here. Thank you so much for watching the Waypoint podcast here. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments on all the topics and everything. Again, if you don't remember every single topic we talked about, timestamps will be down below, and you'll see it in the indent bars on the video itself. But anyway, I've been Tallen with 5 Gaming Direct. Again, joined by Ironcane, Lethal, and LittleBobby. And we will see you guys in the next one. Make sure you sub if you haven't already. Like the video. Until next time, guys, everyone, on it.